1 p.m. Eastern, Baltimore Ravens 3-1, 2-0 on the road at Pittsburgh Steelers 2-2, 1-1 at home. We're at Acrisure Stadium in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. 50 Fahrenheit, partly cloudy, 13 miles per hour. It's been very beautiful, very hot, perfect weather, and that's going to start changing. Starts changing this weekend, and we'll see if it continues to change. It's going to start getting cooler. The total here has dropped to 37.5 over at Penny. This total opened up at 40. I mean, compare this total to the one with New Orleans and New England. I mean, this is the kind of low total that you want to be all over. But it's dropped heavily down to 37.5 at Pinnacle. A 2.5 point move to a very low under is eye-opening. And I do not think, and Alceric saying Trubisky, I do not think it's going to be Trubisky. But we'll talk about that. We'll talk about that. It's not that we'll get into it. But, judging by this 3.5 point, so it's sitting at 3.5 right now. Baltimore minus 3.5 is juiced. This opened up at 4 and dropped to 3. Oh, actually, the first thing it moved to 4.5. Wow, I didn't realize that. So it opened up at 4, moved to 4.5, and then there was the 3.5. And I think that 3.5 is because, and I believe I have some comments here in my notes, but it's because it sounds like we're going to see Pickett back in. But we'll talk about all of this here right now. Great to see you, Jacqueline. Thank you for joining us. So, let's go over to the cash flow for the Steelers spot. 91% of the tickets and 95% of the cash on the Ravens. That's on the money line. My fault. Let me move to all markets here. I forgot we had the money line up for that one. So for the spread, we have 71% of the tickets and 79% of the cash on the Steelers. And it's moved to 3.5. That's pretty fascinating. And I think that's telling us that Pickett will be in. 90% of the tickets on the under. We don't have a cash flow at this point. So Ravens coming off a dominant 28-3 victory at Cleveland. No Deshaun Watson due to injury. Dorian Thompson-Robinson had little hope in the loss. Lamar Jackson was 15-19 for 186 yards and 2 touchdowns. He also ran 9 times for 27 yards and 2 touchdowns. He did fumble twice, losing one of them. Mark Andrews, it looks like he's healthy and ready to rock. Caught 5 passes for 80 yards, 2 touchdowns. Zay Flowers caught 3 for 56. 6 different rushers were given the opportunity to move the ball on the ground, led by Gus Edwards, who ran 15 times for 48 yards. As a group, they ran 33 times for 31 yards. Now, they don't have a lot of skill in that group, but they're going to keep running and running and running. The defense completely shut down the Browns, held the Browns to 166 total yards. The Ravens had 4 sacks, 8 quarterback hits, and picked off DTR 3 times. And look at who they were missing. No Odell Beckham Jr., no Rashad Bateman, no Ronnie Stanley, no Adefowa, no David Ojabo, no Marlon Humphreys, and no Marcus Williams. So there were 2 wide receivers, a left tackle, 2 linebackers, a cornerback, and a safety. Then they lose right tackle Morgan Moses to a shoulder injury, and they lose safety Dora Worley to a shoulder injury as well. They're a very, very beat-up football team playing against a team that's mentally beat up. But they also lost players that we'll go over. Steelers coming off that ugly 36 loss at Houston. Kenny Pickett goes down with a knee injury. I think the reason why it's gone to 3.5 is because Tomlin came out and said it's just a bone bruise. Says he's going to participate in practice. And, of course, Trubisky would be the next man up. But I think he's going to play. Against the Texans, Steelers were outgained 451 to 225 and got just 12 first downs. What the hell has happened to this offense? When we came into the year, you had Pickens and Calvin Austin. You had these 2 deep threats. You had a Pro Bowler and Allen Robinson in the slot. You have Kenny Pickett, who is going to be better this year. What the hell happened? He was 15 to 23 for 114 yards and an interception. Trubisky came in with 3 of 5, 18 yards. Najee Harris ran 14 times for 71 yards, caught a pass for 32 yards. He caught 1 pass for 32 yards, Najee Harris, and that led all receivers. Unbelievable. And they get their bye week next week. So here they go. They have 1 week. They're at home, and they're 2-2. And they have their bye week next week. The defense looked bad. They could get no pressure. 0 sacks. Allowed the Texans about 451 yards. So left tackle Dan Moore Jr., knee sprain, he's out. Now, guard James Daniel said he is looking much better with his groin injury. He'll participate at some level. We'll let the amount, and this is quote unquote, we'll let the amount of that participation and the quality of that participation be our guide in terms of his game day availability. Pat Fryermuth suffered a hamstring injury. He's just listed as doubtful, but he's going to be out for 2 to 3 weeks. Defensive tackle DeMarvin Leal, he's in concussion protocol. And their punter Presley Harvin is dealing with a hamstring that held him out for week 4, and he's going to be assessed later in the week, probably unavailable. So many moving parts in this one. My goodness. Take it away for us, Troy. Can you enlighten us? Can we find some guidance here with Ravens Steelers in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania?
You look at this line, you got a divisional home dog, and that divisional home dog is Tomlin. And it's hard for me to talk about this because I feel like the perception is going to be that I'm biased because I think I faded the Ravens every week too, unsuccessfully so far this year. It's been an unprofitable proposition for me so far. But, yeah, the Ravens went up against a quarterback last year that was awful. He wasn't ready for the NFL. 2.3 air yards per attempt. I just think that this Ravens team is overrated defensively. I think there's people way too high on this Ravens defense. I mean, who they played? The Bengals, the Colts, the Texans with Stroud in his first start, Dorian Thompson, or whatever. I don't even know his name anymore. I forgot it because he's so forgettable. He's his first game in the NFL, first start. I'm still not impressed with what I've seen from the Ravens at this point. They did I should say this too, but they do get Kenny Pickett this week, who falls right into the line with low air yards per attempt and an offense that's just stagnant at the very best. Stagnant's probably giving him a little bit too much credit, to be honest. I'm kind of hoping that they crush the Steelers this week, and I'm hoping that the Texans lose so that I could fade the shit out of them next week. I'm not a believer in Lamar Jackson. I still think he needs to prove me wrong. He only had to throw 19 passes to get the job done against the Browns. What I was impressed with, though, was the run design and the run scheme because it was effective. You could tell they took advantage with the RPO, or it's more of a read option, run with Lamar and whoever was in the backfield. But it was very impressive, man. Monken had some shit cooked up for it, and they were successful on the ground. I was surprised to see it, but it was definitely true that Monken came correct with this scheme. But yeah, the main point about the Ravens at this point is that their defense is unproven. But how proven do they need to be when they're going up against the Steelers, right? It's just so hard to get behind a Steelers team. Only 4 passes of 10-plus yards. I mean, what the hell are we doing? Offensive line is grading out as the worst in the league, especially in the pass blocking. And defensively, they can't cover anybody in the secondary. That's just not a good mix. Despite a great pass rush, they're still terrible in the secondary, and not one of their players in the secondary graded in the top 50. And that just came as a huge surprise. I'm sorry, not in the secondary, they're cornerbacks, nobody in the top 50. This is a game where I'm only looking towards the Steelers. I'm not sure if I'll get there. But, yeah, it's a divisional home dog with Tomlin or nothing.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'm going to get there. Now, the only problem that I foresee here is that Baltimore gives you how many of these guys come back. And with Baltimore at 3-1 right now, I don't know if there's a rush to get them back. And, this is one of those spots that's a little nerve-wracking. You want to wait for more injury information. But I think the injury information is going to be really bad for Baltimore. I think it's going to be much better for Pittsburgh. And I think this ends at 3. And we've talked throughout this show already, and we're only 4 weeks in, about what Tomlin's numbers are as a home dog or as within 3 points. And I know this is at 3.5 or 4 right now, so that doesn't fall in. But their numbers are spectacular.
Jimmy, you moving on this is probably gonna push me over the edge, man.
You know what? This is right in my wheelhouse. This is right where I want to be. The more I talk about it. Now, the problem is that 71% of the tickets, 78% of cash are on the Steelers. That surprises me. It really surprises me. I was thinking that everybody was going to be, on the Ravens here. So that's the only, thing that makes me uncomfortable. But
they're not betting this. The public's coming in with those money line parlays. They're teasing, a team through an insignificant number. Because that money line cash flow, 91-93 Baltimore.
Yeah.
But I see what you're saying, though. You're right, though. It's the spread we're looking at. That's where the sharp action is going to be at this point. Well, hey.
I'm there. I'm there. And I know that this is one of those bets that's just going to take a ton of heat, but this is just the Steelers after getting embarrassed on the road, coming home against a division rival that just beat up on the Browns, who didn't have their quarterback. This is, I know we're going to see so many people on the Ravens. That's my expectation. But I bet now we'll know if this ends up at 3, I'm going to get paid. That's my thought. So
are you going to wait for injury reports, or are you moving tonight?
I think I'm moving tonight. I'm going to look at, because there's 3 different options for me where to bet this, and I'm going to see if there's a 4 available, and I'm moving on this tonight. Steelers, let's go. Let's fucking go. All right, we move on.